Welcome back, listeners. I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. Today, we have a special guest with us, Miss Kathy. She is the author of Misfit in Hell to a Heaven Expat. She's going to tell us a little bit about her near-death experience. Kathy, how are you today?
I'm fine, Robin. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So can you first just tell us a little bit about yourself and then about your book?
All righty. Well, my dad was in the Navy, so as a child, we moved a lot all over the country. So that made it tough to, establish myself somewhere. It was always new friends, new schools, which was difficult. And then I was in the real estate property management business for many, 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 many years, and I enjoyed that immensely. And then a friend of mine who had been very close, my best friend, we'd been engaged for 7 years and then just broke that off. And when he went to the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, but we were still friends. He called up and said that he had found out he had leukemia, and he was only 53 and he needed 2 caregivers. He was going to go to Seattle and it's a research hospital, and they were going to, kind of use him as a guinea pig, see if they could come up with somebody that would help him. So I dropped everything, and it was supposed to be for 2 or 3 months. And there was another caregiver. I got us an apartment near the hospital so we could walk over and back. And then it was a disaster. I mean, he'd get better and then he'd get worse. And that went on for almost 9 months. And we were all exhausted. And then he died. And it just broke my heart. And so I was going to go back to California. We were in Washington. So I was going to go back to California. And I got sick. I'd been with a friend at a concert somewhere, and something like COVID was going around, and I picked it up, and I was so run down that it didn't take long for it to, really crunch me up. So I had gone into a doctor, one of those doc in the box places. They'd given me some pills to pick up. It was raining. I was so sick. I barely got to the pharmacy. I got home, and it was interesting because later on, after I got out of the hospital and got back, I found the pills in my purse. I'd never even taken them. But that night, I just got sicker and sicker, and I finally called a friend that I'd been dating and said, I really need some help getting back to the dock in the box. I was on the 3rd floor with no elevator. I said, there's no way I'm going to get down those steps and drive. So he said, fine, I'll come pick you up. And he got there. He was out of town. So by the time he got me there, it was the middle of the night. I was coughing up blood. And by the time I got out of the car, and I could just feel my life force just like draining, like a temperature, a thermometer, like it was just like going down. I could just feel it just coming out the bottom of my feet. It was so weird. And I was trying to yell, I'm dying. But it was just this whisper was all I could get out. And then I went black. He said I passed out in the parking lot. He picked me up, carried me inside, and yelling and screaming, and they couldn't find a pulse. And so they called an ambulance, and I ended up in a hospital. And I woke up a couple days later, and there's all my family from California and Colorado. And I said, what's going on? I was in an oxygen tent, and it was New Year's Eve, I remember, because the ball came down. That's one of the last things I remember. And they said, you're really sick. You've got ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, known as lung failure. We don't know how to cure it. It's a syndrome. It doesn't react to antibiotics and stuff. It's not an infection. So we're going to throw the book at you, but you don't want to be awake to have that happen. So we're going to put you into a coma, and it'll be lights out, brain offline. You won't remember a thing. Are you ready? Yes. No, what could I say? So my family all gave me kisses goodbye, and my dad gave me a thumbs up, and I was out.
Wow. And so you were in that medically induced coma for 3 weeks, correct?
It was almost 3 weeks. I think it was like 19 days or something. But the thing was, I woke up and I thought, where am I? I had forgotten all about the hospital and everything. So it was just pitch black. And there was there was no sound or anything, and I had no idea where I was. So I just hung out. I thought, well, I'm not hurting. I mean, it doesn't look scary. It's just dark. So, but a little bit after, I don't know how, on the other side, there's no time. It's always this eternal now thing. So I have no idea
Yeah.
how long I was in this dark place, just kind of looking around thinking, well, there's got to be something out here. And it did start to get a little bit lighter, and there was like a reddish glow that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, good, sun's coming up. I'll be able to see where the heck I am, And as it got a little bit lighter, it just seemed to be like this fog rolled in or something, and it was still reddish. And then I started hearing weird noises like shrieking and moaning, and it got too warm, and I smelled something really awful. And I thought, what the heck? And then all of a sudden, out of this fog, this horrible voice came, and it says, "Do you know where you are?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was a Catholic girl, and I thought this was probably the right answer. I don't even want to say it, but I just said, "Hell?" And the thing went, whoa, like in some spooky movie. And I just freaked out, and I just turned away from the voice and ran into the darkness. When you're on the other side, you don't really realize you're dead because you're still you, I mean, our bodies are just like a car. We kind of ride around in them while we're here. And then when we go to the other side, we just jump out of the body and take off. So the whole time on this adventure, I really didn't understand that I was, you don't have to be clinically dead to have an ND. That's why they call it near-death experience. Mm-hmm. It's not a death experience. So their souls can wander out in a coma. Mm-hmm. And people sometimes, question that, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Wow. So did it originally just feel like a bad dream, or did you had to know that you were awake, like during this time?
Right. It was just like getting on a podcast, and all of a sudden I'm talking to somebody in Spain or something. You say, oh, okay, my spirit, my voice, my picture is now in Spain, but that's just me here. I understood that, but I didn't know. I did not understand that I was, and that's what's so confusing about it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what everybody says. You don't know how you got there, and you just assume you're still alive.
Right. Okay. And then, so after this experience, was that the only thing that you experienced on the other side, or was there more?
No, there was a lot more. Too much to go into here. It's all detailed and gory detail in the book, of course, but no. There were segments, mm-hmm. and they would start off with me being in the dark, and then this bright light would come up, and then I would find myself in a weird place. Like the first place I found myself in was this like bombed out city, and it was chaos and people screaming and running and fires and buildings all falling down. And it was, just imagine you're walking around down the street, you blink your eyes, and all of a sudden everything's, destroyed and chaotic. You don't have time to really sit there and think about it because, you're afraid for your life, Yeah. You want to find someplace safe, which is what I tried to do. And then there were beings there, and there was something like a huge metallic robot thing that went by, and I thought maybe aliens had attacked. I just didn't know. And so I was freaking out and trying to find a safer place. And when I tried to do that, I fell backwards, and I thought, oh, this is going to hurt when I land. But the lights went out, mm-hmm. and the lights came up, and I find myself in another place. There were demons, and it just seemed natural. I like if you were walking in the woods someplace and Yeti stepped out in front of you, you'd say, oh my gosh, that's Bigfoot. I mean, you know these things. So when this creature was standing right in front of me, I knew it was a demon. And it was like, it spoke perfect English, which was weird. And it said, I just stared at it when I saw it. And it was very tall and, creepy looking. And I thought, oh, good grief, now what? And he said, you want to get out of here? And I said, oh, I thought, well, I better be polite. Yes, I would. And he says, well, if you do this one thing for me, I got a job for you. If you can get this done, I'll see that you get out of here. And so I thought, oh, cool, fine. What is it? And so it had been dark, but he waved his arm, and now it's light. And as far as I can see is all these blackberry canes. They're 20 feet high and all intertwined, and it goes forever. And in Washington, you have the blackberry vines, and they're very difficult to get away, get rid of. I've tried many times in my yards. You've got to have really thick gloves on and really hefty clippers. And it's just, you can only cut them like 12 inches at a time. So they got thorns on them like you can't believe. He said, I just looked at that and I thought, uh-oh. And he says, all you got to do is just cut all that down for me, and I'll see you get out of here. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to take a million years. And then he handed me these little kindergarten scissors, for kids that cut paper. And I thought, this isn't going to work. And I looked at him and he's just laughing. And I thought, oh, he's just toying with me, like a cat and a mouse, but I don't have any other options. So I did try and scritch down in there. I was getting all scratched up and it hurt. And I was trying to gnaw away at one of the first canes I came to, and they're about 1.5 inches thick. And so I finally got it broken, and I went to put it behind me so I could get to the next cane. And when I turned back around, the thing grew all the way back, like 20 feet long. And I thought, oh, okay. And I look up at this demon. He knows that this is an impossible task. Mm-hmm. But I'm a survivor. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being messed with. I thought, I'm not going to give this jerk the satisfaction of seeing me cave, So I kept cutting, but then the lights went out. Okay. And they came up. During this whole thing, Robin, there was also times when I would be on this road, and that was almost a blessing because I could see all the way around me. Nothing was going to sneak up on me, but it was very dim. There's no lights, there's no moon, there's no stars. And always at the edge of the horizon, it was like this reddish glow, like there were fires, when in California where you see the fires coming. But the road just was like dirt. And it only went 2 directions, no signs, of course. So I would just get on the road and start walking, thinking there's got to be a way out of here, Yeah. So I would also have interactions with other beings on the road. A couple of them were strange because I saw people that were alive. So that was another indication that I didn't think I was dead, because here's a couple of my relatives. And it was very strange, the interactions. One of them was a very dear relative of mine that was fixing this huge feast of food. And she was a really good cook. Everybody knew her for being a good cook. And of course, I'd been walking and tramping around, and I felt like I'd been there for years already. And I said to her, gee, hi. And she just kind of looked at me like she didn't even recognize me. And she was busy. And I said, I know you're busy, but I'm so hungry. I'm so thirsty. Could you just get me a little plate of anything, glass of water? I'd be so appreciative. And we're really close. And she just looked at me and says, this is for the important people.
Oh, wow.
And just dismissed me. And oh, wow, zing, that hurt. So I said, well, sorry for bothering you, So I kept on the road. Interesting enough, when I got back, I felt like I kept thinking, you've got to tell these people what happened. There's a message in there for these people. They need to hear it. And oh, man, you go up to your relative and say, well, I saw you in hell. And this is what, I'm supposed to tell you. They're going to think you're nuts. A, and B, they don't want to hear it. So the first person I told, she got really upset with me, and we had a fight later on, and I haven't spoken to her in 25 years. The other one looked at me like I was nuts. She was going through a really bad time. She says, whatever, but
Mhm.
a year later at Christmas, she came up to me and she gave me a glass of wine. She says, okay, sit down. I want to talk about this hell thing. And I said, really? And she says, yes, because you told me X, Y, and Z. And a situation came up where I had to use that information. And I trusted you. And I did. And
Mhm.
I got divorced. And I'm so happy. And if you hadn't given me that push, that courage, I never could have gotten free. So she's, so I thought, oh, wow, at least 1 out of 2 worked. But yeah, going on along the road, all the different situations, they kept getting worse and worse. I kept telling them, no, I'm not going to do it. Got to what I didn't know was the very end, and was again being a brat. And then all of a sudden, after this secret word, I almost said, changed everything. And I was just like exploded, like shot like a cannon into this incredible bliss and joy and love. And I didn't know how I got there or why I was there. It was just like, I want to stay here forever. I just want to be in this wonderful place and this wonderful love. And finally, it kind of started settling down, and I could kind of make out things. And one thing I did see very clearly was my friend that had just died the month before. And he was standing there smiling. He looked great. He looked much younger, very healthy.
Mhm.
He was wearing a sweater I gave him, for Christmas. And he looked so happy to see me. And I was, ecstatic to see him. But then I thought, oh, shoot, he doesn't know he's dead.
Uh-huh.
And he started laughing. And I thought, wait a minute. If he's dead, then I must be dead. And this is like great news. I am so excited. I am so happy. I want to go give him a hug. I says, what are we doing standing here? Show me around. And he came a little closer and he says, no, Mary Kate, you've got too much left to do.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't like the sound of that, and
Mhm.
I thought, they're throwing me out. And I said, no, who wants to leave here? No, no.
Yeah.
And boom, the lights went out. I come up, the lights are back on, way too bright. There's people milling around. I'm thinking, oh, shoot, I'm back in that terrible place. And then my daughter turns around and says, Mom's back. And I thought,
Wow.
what? And they're all around me. I'm laying there. I can't move. I've got something in my throat. I'm just terrified because I don't know where I've been, what's going on, but I can't talk.
Mhm.
And they're all talking at once. My mom says, oh, Kathy, we had a prayer circle going around the globe. We brought you back. And I thought, oh, you terrible woman. Wait till I get my hands on you. I don't want to be back. And then my daughter sits down and she's using her little baby voice saying, yeah, Mom, you've been gone a long time. We didn't think you were going to come back. We are so grateful you're here. We all love you. And I'm still just freaked out. And it turns out after being on a nasal tube with Shure for 3 weeks, I weighed 86 pounds. I had no muscle mass left, no muscle memory. That's why I couldn't move. I was, of course, had a trach. I couldn't breathe by myself. And I thought, wait a minute. The last thing they said is you've got too much left to do. I can't even breathe. So
Right.
yeah, I was a little down.
Mhm. And how was that? Like, how long did it take for you to kind of get back to a great mental space? Like, once you kind of wrapped your mind around that vision, that dream that you were in, where the state that you were in back here, and how long did that take?
10 years.
Wow.
First, I had to get my health back, which took. I was in that ICU for a month. And then I went to a physical rehab facility to learn how to walk and talk and crawl and swallow and all that again for another month. I was there learning all those things. And then I went home to the boyfriend that I had, and we got married because, like the doctor said, we don't drive a car or work. We don't know how brain damaged she is. She's not in very good shape. He was a very kind man to take me in. And it took me a year of really hard work to be able to feel like I could drive and interact with people. My brain was scrambled from all the drugs, and I was just terrified of the experience. I wanted to be back home, which is heaven. It was a bad time, and nobody wanted to listen to me. Nobody wanted to hear it. They dismissed it. It was the drugs. You were it didn't happen, Kathy. I knew it happened. So I had to clam up. I did go to my therapist, who listened very patiently to the whole thing and says, well, I just have to put PTSD on your chart, and I don't know how to help you. And I said, well, great. That's swell. So over a period of years, long time, I all I could do was try and write it out. Just kind of take it and write it out, thinking that it'll go away. If it was dreams or drugs, it'll go away. But it didn't, Robin. It was always right there. So after a series of synchronicities, things started kicking in where I was told to go here and I was told to go there. And I ended up in Seattle, which is, the hour drive away, at one of these IANDS meetings. That's the International Association of Near-Death Studies. I started reading books, anything that I could find on the distressing near-death experiences. There weren't many, like 3, and there's like 100 for all the ones that have the lunch with Jesus and puppies and rainbows. So I thought, what's going on? So I finally got up to this meeting. And I went to 2 or 3 of them, and I thought, this is just not what happened to me. I don't know if I can't find it here. Where am I going to find it? So I was leaving. I wasn't going to come back. And one of the directors up there came up and says, what's wrong? And I told him. And he says, you mean you had a hell experience? And I says, yeah. And he says, great. And I says, what? And he says, oh, you never hear about these. They're supposed to be like 10% of the time, but nobody will ever talk to us about it and explain. I says, well, there's a reason for that. We're embarrassed. We're shamed. He says, you got to tell us. So they bullied me into doing that. And when I did, it was such a relief because all these people believed me. They went with me on this journey, as I told the entire story, and were very comforting and encouraging. So fast forward, I'm finally finding some more books. I start going to the conferences. I meet the lady that had one of these distressing ones, and she's written 3 wonderful books. A very intelligent, learned person. She's, gave me some hope that I'm not crazy and that it's not something I should take personally as being a bad person. Yeah. Since then, there's been a lot in the last 25 years that's come out, and it's known that it's bad people don't have bad NDEs and good people don't have good NDEs. And it's just what I've been able to do is to get people together that have had my type of experience. I have a sharing group through IANDS once a month where the people can come. And they're so relieved that they can finally find their folks that they can share their stories. Most of them for the first time. I mean, it's awful to carry that kind of thing around for all that long. But what we've been told, what's been decided, what's been understood, what's been accepted is, like myself, 85% of us are Catholics. We were told from day one that there's a purgatory out there, that nobody goes straight to heaven. Doesn't matter if Jesus died for your sins or whatever. You're going to pay in purgatory, which is like hell, except you get out. And I believe we manifested these experiences because we sincerely believed that would happen to us. We took segments from our lives that we blew up and made worse like
Yeah.
I did. I mean, my first segment in that burned out city was from the 1989 earthquake in Santa Cruz. I survived, where the town fell down. There was people screaming and running, fires. But it took me a very long time to figure that out. So
Right.
my mission and is to come back and tell people skip the trip.
Hmm.
There is no hell that God makes.
Hmm.
You've got free will. If you want to go to a place like that, make your own. You can find
Hmm.
one. But God is all loving, all forgiving, and would never condemn anybody. And it's a little more, it's much better explained in the book, or if you go to one of the sharing groups, and anybody's invited to go to those. So that's kind of my story. The other part was when I came back, I was really haunted for a very long time about this. And I finally said, to God, I prayed, I can't do the thou shalt nots anymore. They're not working for me. Can you give me something positive? And
Hmm.
over a period of weeks, I was told to be loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful.
Hmm.
So those are the things that I share with people. If you can't remember it all, just be loving and kind. And that's all we need to be here.
I like that very much. And that's wonderful that you said that, because a lot of people are starting to kind of wake up to the fact that we are the creators of our own reality, and what we believe in, that's what we will eventually see, come to light. Like you stated, that's eventually what we would manifest. So that's great. And I really hope a lot of people go out and that drives them to your book to kind of read in depth, how you explained all of that, and you explained your experience that you had as well. So after you join that group, that just is, and everyone coming together, realizing that we're kind of all connected, we're there to help each other. How did you feel mentally after that? I know you stated that it took 10 years, but did you kind of feel better being here now?
Oh yeah, I was with my people, man.
Yeah.
They understood, and I guess I had to go. I believe that we do plan our existence to come down here and learn things. We're all part of God. God's experiencing God's self. Um, this is all planned. I love it when I could understand that. I didn't feel like a victim anymore. Number one, I wasn't mad at God all the time. When terrible things happened to me, I didn't, how can an all loving God do those kinds of things? I just couldn't figure it out. And so to think that I plan these things, it gives me a pause. I think, ooh, this sucks. What did I have in mind here? What am I supposed to learn? But it changes everything. It just changes everything. It's all good. It's all going to work to good. You don't have to worry anymore. You just have to, just the fear is gone. I think, I listened to your show last night talking about fear, and I also saw a quote that I love. It says, um, religion teaches us to fear God, but we can't love what we fear. So we have to let go of, I had to let go of a religion that taught me to fear God. And I know people have their own, their own path, and I don't try and talk anybody out of their religion, but just let yourself think about the love of God rather than the fear of God.
Yes. And I love that so much. And earlier you stated you felt shame, like, when you were telling others about your experience, you felt like they didn't want to believe you, so you felt shameful of that. And I feel once we release that, you release that worry, you release shame, you release guilt, that's where I would say love, it starts to give that rebirth to loving yourself, loving your experience, loving what you went through, and being able to share that experience, because there are people who need that. And to me, it just feels like that was your journey. That might have been why it took you 10 years to get to that point, why it took you 10 years to find that, is so that you would experience that guilt, that shame, trying to overcome that. And then knowing what your purpose was you kind of gave birth to that purpose once you met that group. So
yeah, I totally agree.
yeah.
You're
And
right.
it's very uplifting, hearing that. So I really, really like that a lot. And so how well is that group going now?
Very well. We've been going, oh gosh, I forget now. It's about 4 years or something. And it's such a joyful group. I mean, first time people come in, that it's a Zoom thing. So they usually don't have their face. They just have they don't even want to, they're just, creeped out. They just don't know where else to go. And they don't know if these people are really going to understand. But when they listen to us talk, and once you get that out, there's a joy that's able to come back into your heart. And so we're laughing and we're talking and they're just totally confused. How can these people be this way? But once they start hearing our descriptions, our explanations, and it starts to resonate with them, then there's hope,
Yeah.
and eventually, their little faces come up and they're usually sitting on a couch with a blanket or something in the dark, and they say, I kind of had something horrible happen too. And we just go, great, tell us, and they're going, oh, well, and then once they get going, and nobody's putting them down, they're just going, wow, or, like they're really with you. And then I can't tell you how many times, Robin, really, they say, this is the first time I've ever been able to tell this. You can't believe how, and we said, no, we get it. We get it. So it's just a wonderful feeling to be to be encouraging, loving, kind, all that. Your whole life changes when you go from that perspective. It'd be so nice if everybody in the world would just do that,
If
maybe
only.
someday. Yeah, maybe someday.
But I like that. And I like that you've kind of become that lighthouse, that beam of light for others, that they can kind of open up to you on your platform.
Yeah, it's my useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just had a conference in Arizona. The IANDS people have a conference every year somewhere in the United States. There was over 700 people that showed up, and then a lot of people online. It's the most wonderful energy you've ever seen in your life. Everybody is just glowing. Your feet don't touch the ground. I mean, it's so funny. On our website I saw yesterday, there's all how do you re-enter the world after being at an IANDS conference for a week? It's really hard to get grounded again. You're just so happy. Everybody there knows that feeling of God, of heaven, of home.
Yes.
And you see somebody with a little badge walking this huge conference center, and immediately their family, come sit with us. We're having lunch. People giving each other hugs they've never met. Oh, I saw you on a podcast. I mean, really, if the whole world could ever get to this place, that would be heaven, where you just accept people. You just love people because they're God,
Right.
We're all God.
Yes, you get it. Yes. You don't find too many people that understand that. So it's music to my ears hearing that you said that. I like that a lot. Yeah. And so everything since then, you've been in great health and you're doing well now.
Yeah, I'm that whole manifesting thing, I really believe in that. Every morning I wake up, I'm grateful. Every night I go to bed, before I go to bed, I say, I'm grateful. In the morning, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my life. Being very, very positive and manifesting that joy. It's, you read book. I've got a stack of books that back that up, but I'm always looking to encourage myself to stay in that space, and to encourage other people too. So God bless you and your podcast and you and it's all about healing. It's, you're another, cog in that great new wheel that we're trying to bring to this earth. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
No problem. And I thank you very much. And what is the name of your website?
It's www, and surprisingly enough, misfit in hell to heaven expat.com. And you can find the book on Amazon or anywhere you find books. And if you want to get in touch with me, I just talked to somebody the other day for an hour. You can just get on the website and leave me a message, and I'll get back to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'll also put those in the show notes listed as well.
Okay.
But other than that, you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Robin. You take care.
Okay. All right. Everyone stay blessed.
Bye.
Again, I'm your host, Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. If you're navigating grief, toxic relationships, trauma, financial pressure, or the slow work of rebuilding after setback piled upon setback, this channel is for you. Our community now spans 118 countries, proof that real stories travel and that healing accelerates when we carry one another. Share your story, lend your voice, and let grace turn pain into purpose. Book your podcast in the link below and share your story. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good evening, and good night. Stay blessed.